All right, aloha friends. Brian Goss with June Sports Media. Another episode of Game Time with the Goss, powered by Grey Wolf Promotions. If you're looking for some of the best high school t-shirts and merchandise, stop your search today. Check out greywolfpromotions.com. Give a shout out to my man Bill Webb and Grey Wolf Promotions, located in Bedford. Today's episode, we're talking UIL State Volleyball Championships. Exciting times as we have 11 games in Garland at the Caldwell Center, and we'll talk about some of the biggest matchups, especially in 6A and 5A, some of the best games to look forward to, and finish off with our Pick'em Challenge. And Chuck Licata with Big Daddy Media CEO and GM Sports Media Volleyball Insider joins us. Good to have you again, Chuck.
Well, it's ironic. It's kind of like Lauren McPherson of Blum said. Of course, Lauren retiring after this year to follow her daughter, Kinsley, into college ball. And she said she's excited. Obviously, Blum is happy to make the 1A final, which will be the first one today. But she said at the same time, it's kind of sad because it's the last ever volleyball match for her. And for us, as we continue through GM Sports Media, the best volleyball coverage around by far in the DFW area. It's our last week of high school volleyball. It's kind of tough, man. I mean, it'll be fun the next 3 days, but as you know, because you've been through this yourself, that last match, man, when Austin High and South Lake Carroll finish it off, whoever wins that one, um, it's like, okay, it's off season. So,
Yeah, and getting ready for the next year, which will come up fast. But
yeah.
yeah, we have 11 matches in Garland. Which one to you, Chuck, stands out as it could be the best match of the week?
I'll tell you, I got two, and they both involve DFW teams. In 5A, Argyle and Cedar Park, man, that is a monster toe-to-toe situation. I would say if you said which match will not go three, that one easily. Cedar Park makes return to state. Argyle gets back to state, um, or makes it to the state championship this year after falling last year in a tough loss to Wakeland, who eventually won state. This one is just that's going to be the monster. The other one is the one I just mentioned, Austin High and South Lake Carroll. And a little twist on that prediction. We'll get to that when we do, but that's another one that Austin High has five D1 players. They've actually come through. They've had issues in the past. It's been one of those teams that you thought, okay, they have a chance to get far, whatever. Outside of 4-6A, they probably play in the toughest district, top to bottom, all the way around. And of course, South Lake Carroll, South Lake Carroll. Tinsley, monster in the middle, Young, and Layla the Rocket, Austin, finishing out their careers. Leslie Jackson, who I admire, she's descendant, if you will, of Jennifer Chandler at Northwest, played for Jennifer, back in the day. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and what a great match to end this year's state tournament on as well.
Yeah, we're hoping for a good match against Carroll and Austin because sometimes that last match, the final one on Saturdays, sort of
Kind of a throwaway sometimes, yeah.
sort of the score gone. It's
That
Saturday
will not
night.
be the case this
Yeah,
year.
awesome. I want to get your thoughts about, you look at the slate of games. We have five teams that could repeat as champions. We have 10 teams that are looking for a first title, and I believe we have two matches that are state title rematches
Yep.
in the smaller schools. I just want your thoughts about both those games. First off, with you got Bushland and Goliad in 3A D1, and then Crawford and Iola in 2A D2.
Well, Crawford Iola in 2A, you're talking about two coaches and Jeff Coker with Crawford and Lauren McPherson, Iola. I mean, their names are etched in volleyball history. There's no question that, when it comes down to it, my prayer is that, as we move forward, everybody realizes what Coker and McPherson have done. McPherson's a legend in herself. Just that's an Iola team that just, basically regroups. They never rebuild. Jeff Coker, since he's taken over Crawford, 8 appearances in 13 years at state overall. And he's got the three titles looking for number four. And to confirm this, third straight year, Iola and Crawford for the for the state championship.
Yeah.
And they've split the first two. So this is kind of, This one will break that tie, if you will. Um, and so that's kind of where, we're thinking on that one. That's fantastic. And the other one was, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Bushland and Goliad was
Yeah.
actually they played for a state championship in 2020. The last several years, it's been Bushland and Gunner, but Bushland looking for a three-peat. Just kind of talk about that matchup.
Yeah, Jason Culpepper of Bushland is one of the most underrated, unknown, legendary high school coaches you're ever going to talk about. I think this is his 14th trip to state between Randall and Bushland, and he's just another one like McPherson. They don't regroup or they don't rebuild; they just regroup.
Yeah.
And he's got such a great system, and he's just low key. He would never want to ever be ranked number one because he just doesn't like the attention, doesn't like the spotlight, but he always produces. Jess Odom, I'm a big fan of Jess. I've known her since Goliad was at state, and she has got a really good, well-rounded team. This is a Goliad team that it's one of those. If somebody's having a bad day, they've always got somebody else that can step up for them. That's going to be a great match as well.
Yeah, like I mentioned, Bushland looking for a three-peat. They beat Goliad in the 2020 final, and then going back to Crawford and Iola, did some research in the last decade alone. This is their sixth time meeting in Garland at state. The last four times were for the state championship, and they split down the middle, two and two. So
Right.
should be fun. Of course, Crawford and Iola play on the first day on Thursday. There in Garland, so exciting for that. Saturday, going back to Saturday and the four largest divisions with 6A and 5A. Got to start at the top with Byron Nelson, 41 and 0. Another win would put them in some historic company. They'd just be the second team in UIL volleyball history to go undefeated and win back to back and only drop one loss in 2 years. The last one was back in the 80s. They're Byron Nelson, number one in the country for a reason. They have all their top, commits and D1 players. They play a Pearland Dawson team that's playing in the championship game for the very first time. So, I mean,
Mhm.
Chuck, I mean, how much of a chance do you give Dawson in this match?
Well, it's funny because in our Pick'em Derby, I picked Cy Ranch to beat Byron Nelson and got a little slack or flack from people up here, kind of like, how can you pick against Byron Nelson? Look, well, people understand when we make these predictions, and yes, they're public, so you own up to them. You're predicting based on what you've seen. And Cy Ranch is like Hendrickson a couple of years ago. Hendrickson is so athletic that if they hit everything on point, they were tough to beat because they're so athletic. I was thinking Cy Ranch might be that. Of course, I'm rooting for Bree. I love Bree, and that whole Byron Nelson community. Uh, this one is interesting because Pearland Dawson has Lauren Leth, who's the head coach. She's retiring. We talked about Lauren McPherson, who's retiring, and the Boyd coach is also retiring. So you got three retiring coaches
Yeah, Clark
at state this
Overly.
year.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's a fun one, but uh, by the numbers, and even if Pearland Dawson has their best day, the Eagles under Lauren Leth, and they're good, this is Byron Nelson. They're just too big. They're too strong. They're too quick. As Bree herself has told you and I many times, uh, she's got a setter in Sophie Peterson who's better than she was in high school. And remember, Bree holds the Texas career high school volleyball record for most assists in the career. So that pretty much tells you where she think there.
And first off, congratulations to Bree for giving birth to
Yes.
the beautiful twin girls. She wasn't on the bench the last three matches for maternity leave, but she will be there on Saturday in Garland in her normal head coaching responsibilities. But you know what? I want to mention Byron because they haven't been really. Now they've been tested more this playoff run than last year's run when they're in D2.
Right.
Overall, the big picture, they haven't been tested a lot. I think set wise, it's 106-4 or something crazy like that.
Hmm.
I will say though, the two sets they dropped four sets. They probably should have dropped six. I was there for the Cy Ranch game. Cy Ranch was up 23-19 in the second, about to tie the match 1-1. Byron calls a timeout and comes out and scores the final six to steal that one, and then dominate the third set. We were there early in August when they're playing Walnut Grove in the Northwest semifinals.
Right.
Set one, I think it was 24-21 or something like that. Walnut Grove had set point, call timeout, and then Byron Nelson scores, whatever the final five or six
Five in a
points.
row. Yep.
So
Mhm.
they just have the composure, and they're so mature. Those girls, a lot of those girls play at a high level at the club scene, so they know sort of that adversity. So it's very hard to uh, to beat this Byron Nelson squad, let alone get a set off
Yes.
of them.
Yes.
We talked about Salt Lake again, just having an incredible run. Um, the Dragons, interesting enough in this matchup, Austin High's last champ game appearance was 92. The last one for
Hmm.
Salt Lake was 98. So we love to see those teams back. You mentioned Kinsley Young and Layla Austin for Salt Lake. They're just on a roll now. Um, you talked about it already. Just they're
Yeah. I mean,
they're
if
playing
this
they're playing as good as anyone else in the state right now.
Right. Yeah, and that's another team. Leslie Jackson has this team well oiled. They're a great machine right now. And they're another team that could be down 24-21. Leslie calls timeout. They come back, they would score five in a row, and they win it 26-24. Austin High, they're gonna be a challenge. They've got, like I said, they've got five D1 players on their team. They have a lot of height. There are a lot of athleticism. Their passing is really good. Serve receive is really good. They've got a strong front line. And again, 26 6A, you had Lake Travis where Gentry Barker transferred. Westlake made a deep run in the playoffs. Um, Dripping Springs, who they beat, in the third round, was also in that district. So that's a tough district. They've been through everything that they need to be. I'll tell you this on the record, obviously, because we're recording this. I have picked against South Lake Carroll. And again, it's not who you choose, it's not who you're rooting for, it's who you think, logistically has a chance to win. I would love to pick South Lake Carroll. Like I said, big fan of the team and big fan of Leslie. But following media tradition here, if I pick South Lake Carroll, I'm going against the grain. I picked them to lose twice. They've won twice. It's better for me to pick them to lose again and they win the match. So I'm sticking with that media superstition. I'm picking Austin High specifically because I want South Lake Carroll to win the championship. How's that?
That's fine. Even though you took Salt Lake against Tomball, I guess, and you broke that.
Well,
Well, you
you
got
know,
to sneak one in there. So,
yeah. Add the sneak a win in there. Yeah. So,
looking at 5A D1, Highland Park and College Station A&M Consolidated. They're in their state championship game for the first time. Highland Park making it back for the first time in 17 years. And that's a great story for Highland Park. Michael Diarman, who has about 930 career wins. Highland Park was always, one of the premier teams in the area, and they just couldn't get over that hump. Last year, as good as they were, losing in the second round. So that kind of tells you how tough this area is. But finally got over that hump, beat Aledo in the state semis. You've seen a Highland Park a couple times this year. Talk about the Scots. Talk about A&M Consolidated.
this is real simple. This is a short summary. Highland Park wins. Three words. Highland Park wins. That's it. Nothing against A&M Consolidated. Congratulations to them for making it to the state championship under a new coach, which is great. But this team, player for player, is loaded. I mean, oh my God, they would take on anybody at state and they'd fare very well. Sarah
Yeah.
Floyd's back. Allie Hudgens, who transferred from Westlake, is back. Um, they're just a monster team. Michael Dearman has this team kind of like South Lake Carroll right now, like Leslie does. He's got this team rolling. I honestly can't see Highland Park losing more than one set in this match. Bottom line.
Yeah, I was going to say out of all, at least the bigger schools, this one unfortunately might be the shortest and the ones that's not the closest. Yeah, I'm with you. Highland Park is just so loaded. Got to give a shout out to their setter Anna Lee, who doesn't get talked about much. She's all but 5'4", but she's among the area leaders in assists this season for good reason because she's got so much weapons. You have
Right.
Sarah Floyd and Allie Hudgens on the outside. You have Lydia Fisher and Brooklyn Bailey up the middle. Yeah, I'm with you. A&M Consolidated could probably stop one, maybe two Scots, and Dearman still has two or three other options. So it's just that
And
tough.
and don't forget Gigi Wan either, the libero.
G1,
Don't forget Gigi.
so to try and get some kills is going to be tough because Gigi leads that defensive attack. And then Argyle and Cedar Park, you mentioned again, Cedar Park, both teams losing to Wakeland last season.
Right.
Argyle trying to win their first state title since 2015. I will say about Argyle is one of the more pleasant surprises because they graduate Jordan Moore last year, who was our utility player of the year,
Right.
triple doubles queen in DFW. They graduated Piper in the back, uh,
Mickenheim. Yep.
Meckenheim, who's now at Tulane. Uh,
Right.
some other key players, and here they are. They're like 37, 38, and 3,
Yep. Only three losses on the year.
and playing for the championship game. Chuck, I never expected Argyle to make it back this far.
Yeah, they haven't lost a match since September 5th. So what's that tell you? I mean, just amazing. And they played a good schedule, you know. Beat Birdville. Of course, Birdville fell eventually to Aledo, in the 5A. I think that was the regional championship match.
Yeah.
And so they're really good. I'm gonna throw this at you. I need your pick for this match, and I'll tell you where I'm going with this.
I gotta go with Argyle. I mean,
Okay.
yeah,
All right,
I
good,
gotta
good.
go
That's
Argyle.
what I expected. This is good. This is the one of the two we're going to disagree on. I'll
Okay.
tell you what. I've known Cedar Park coach Lori McLaughlin since she came over from Ridgepoint after taking Ridgepoint to the state championship a few years ago. She walked into a culture, and this is my quote, not her. I'm not throwing her under the bus. It was a tough situation. They're in the same district as Liberty Hill and Rouse, and of course, Rouse was, so good at the time. Liberty Hill was making it to state on a regular basis. She built this culture into a really good culture. She just did what the good coaches do, and you've known as well as many of them. She took on the tough matches. She brought in the high stakes. She brought in the 6A teams. At one point this season, they lost 4 of 5. Georgetown, New Braunfels, Grapevine, and Livonia. Oh, by the way, those are some pretty good teams, but when you lose 4 out of 5 to Lori McLaughlin, that's a tough run. She doesn't like that. She's beaten Liberty Hill 3 times, beat him in this playoffs to make it this point. Friendswood was a team that Butch Hart with TGCA was predicting would get the state. They just beat Friendswood in a really good match. But oh, by the way, they swept Friendswood. They've lost 2 sets in their playoff run. Lori McLaughlin has this team rolling with Joy Duye and a well balanced offense and well balanced defense. I'm picking Cedar Park to win this one.
Yeah, even though the semis typically aren't in Garland anymore, Argyle did play at Caldwell Center last year in a heartbreak in 5 sets against Wakeland.
Yes.
And if you
Yeah.
do remember, Wakeland and Cedar Park was, if not the only one of the sort of less competitive matches that I can
Easily.
remember.
Easily.
And
Yep.
so it's about, those girls going back on that court and having that bad taste. And I'm sure Cedar Park wants a lot better showing at the Caldwell Center
Right.
this time around. Awesome. We appreciate the time, Chuck, and I look forward
As
to
always.
seeing you down there in Garland the next 3 days.
Yes, sir. And be sure to check out GN Sports Media, both social media and the website,
Website. Yeah.
gnsportsmedia.com, as we will provide literally wall-to-wall coverage out
Yeah, we'll
there.
have game recaps, we'll have highlights on social media, and then we'll have post game reaction to some of the games.
Yes,
So on
sir.
YouTube, so check it out. All right, that Chuck Licata, Big Daddy Media CEO and GM Sports Media Volleyball Insider. That's another episode of Game Time with the Goss, powered by Grave of Promotions. Again, best merchandise t-shirts around. Go check them out at graveofpromotions.com. That'll do it for another episode. I'm Brian Gossett with GM Sports Media, and until then, we'll see you next time.